Welcome to the Brian Buffini Show, where we explore the mindsets, motivation, and methodologies of success. Here's your host, Brian Buffini.
Well, the top of the morning to you, and welcome to the Brian Buffini Show. Something real special for you today. Once a year, I hold a very exclusive event at the La Costa Resort and Spa. It's called the Peak Experience. And the 500 most successful people in our coaching program come to this for 3 days of very advanced immersion in content, networking, synergy. Very, very powerful time. And rarely have we brought anybody in to view this or see this, but you're going to get a chance at it today. And one of my great friends, Mr. John Gordon, was recently a guest at our Peak Experience. We did a live Q&A session, and it was on leadership. Now, you guys have heard of John Gordon before. He wrote the best-selling book, The Energy Bus. Just a phenomenal guy, a guy who really lights up a room. And he's been on every major TV network. I think he's had 8 or 10 bestsellers. Just phenomenal. Sold over 3 million copies of his book worldwide. But he is the real deal. And he speaks to a lot of sports teams and really a great motivator and a great innovator. And he came to our group to talk about leadership, and it morphed into more than just business leadership. It went leading your life and your business. And so it was a great time. We had a great Q&A. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see the chemistry he and I have together. If you're listening on our podcast, I think you'll enjoy it. Take good notes. Our audience also had a chance to ask John some questions. And so this is just very rich content. There's a lot of leadership stuff. There's from managing millennials to how to manage yourself and have positive energy. All I know is every time I'm around John Gordon, I feel better, I feel empowered, and I feel more equipped to go take on the challenges of business and life. I think you will too. Let's join John and I in action in a Q&A session at our Peak Experience event. For any of us that struggle with the negativity and the positivity, before you go transform your company and this thing, how do you go about the personal transformation yourself?
Well, it starts with you. And you have to make sure that you invest in you first. You have to be the best you can be before you can be the best for others.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just a lot of walks of gratitude and prayer we talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was gratitude and prayer that helped me turn my life around.
Right.
And so through prayer, I can't do it alone, God. I need help here.
Right.
And it was really as much a spiritual transformation as it was a mental transformation.
Sure. But it happened at the same time.
It happened at the same time.
Because there's a lot of spiritual people who are extraordinarily negative.
Right, that's a good point.
And so this is my encouragement to you. So John talked earlier about going for his walks of gratitude. So I'm a student. So I'm at Mastermind. He says that. I write it down. I read it in his books. I write it down. So I go on my walks of gratitude. And my walks of gratitude, I just want to give you encouragement here. My walks of gratitude, and I'm a pretty positive person who, I write personal notes. I'm known for being a person full of gratitude. My walks of grinding started. So it took me a while before, because I would have all the stuff from the previous day and all the stuff that was on my mind. And I'd go for a walk, and I'd start out, hey, thank you for this morning. I'm thankful for the fresh air. I'm thankful for that. But that son of a gun... And if I talk to that person and this and that, and so has anybody ever tried to do the positive stuff and it wasn't so positive, yes or no? And you got to keep trying. And so I just want to add that. My walks of gratitude, I thought I was a far more grateful person than it turned out. And it was just, I was a highly stressed, grateful person. Does that make sense? And my initial walks of gratitude were a grind that over time became, I went from 10% to 90 to 50 to 50, and now the majority of the time. And the beautiful thing, I think, where I got to, and tell me if this is your experience, was now I'll go and I'll do the gratitude piece, and I'm very conscious of that because it does fill you up. And you feel better. You've just had a great encounter with yourself.
And also what you just said is it's really key in terms of it's a process.
Right.
It doesn't happen overnight. I didn't become positive overnight. This is years and years. If you are weeding and feeding the garden of your mind, and you do it for a day, it's not really going to do much.
Yeah.
But if you weed and feed the garden of your mind for a week, you do it for a month, you do it for a year, 7 years, a lifetime, that garden starts to look magnificent.
Right.
So I could say my garden now is much better than it was, but I'm also excited about who I'm becoming.
Sure.
Because I know that I'm going to continue to grow. My daughter, a couple years ago, she said, Dad, you need to read your own book, is what she said to me.
Sure.
And
Right? Sure.
And I was having a bad day.
Yep.
It wasn't a bad, month or year, but it was probably a bad week. And I found myself being so negative. So that led me to sit at a computer, and I wrote this positive pledge. Because I was like, she's right. So I wrote this positive pledge on something that would allow me to focus on and making sure that I was actually living it.
Yeah.
And making sure that I was bringing it forth to my life each day. So I wrote the positive pledge, started to live the positive pledge. You read it each day, and it's a reminder of how to live.
So here's how it's evolved for me.
Yeah.
I moved to a place called Del Mar. I work in Carlsbad. I never go home the freeway. Even if I'm late, I won't go the freeway. There's 4 beaches that I pass on the way down the coast. I roll down my right window. I smell the fresh air. And I breathe it in. And people are out walking and jogging. I see the ocean. I see the waves. I see the whole thing. And I got a pass to not cheat the parking situation. And I get to the last beach. And if I have enough time, I end the day with my walk of gratitude. That's what I did. So I tried to do it in the morning. And I'm so keyed up for the day. And so now what I'll do, about 2 out of every 4 trips home, I'll pull into the last beach. And I go for a walk. And I start, okay, what went right today? What was cool today? What am I thankful for? Who am I thankful for? By the way, Beverly's very happy when I come home after my walk. And when I get to the parts that are the very difficult, big things that are there, where I finish up with, okay, God, I'm leaving that one to you. And then I go home. And so that's a tip that you've given me that's been very transformative for me. But it didn't go as planned, and it took a long time. The garden's looking a lot better. I wanted Miracle-Gro. I went, okay, I'm doing it. Right? I'm doing the walk, John. What the frost is going on here? I shouldn't have bought the book for all the people at Mastermind. Knew it. I got tuck again. And so it's like everything else, right? So anyway, that's a great example.
But we're friends.
Yeah, what are you doing to me, Gordon? Okay. Positive leadership. How does positive leadership navigate through the confrontation, the negative situation, the negative person? So sometimes it's not a negative person, it's a negative situation. So how do you address the difficult thing without becoming the destroyer yourself? But something has to change. Something's got to happen. How do you go about that and remain voraciously positive?
Always with honesty, transparency, authenticity. I saw a leader, a superintendent of a school district, let the audience know that 10% were going to lose their jobs because they have to do budget cuts. He got a standing ovation because he was always honest. He was always someone they could trust, always someone they respected, always someone that they believed in. So from that standpoint, when you create a culture and you say, this is how we do things here, that begins the process of letting everyone know how we will deal with negativity. Right. So you don't go right into dealing with the negativity. You have a team meeting and you talk about, hey, this is the kind of culture we're creating. This is how we deal with negative situations. This is how we deal with adversity. Yeah. And this is how we're going to approach these as a team. Yeah. And this is how I'm going to do it as a leader. Right. Here's what you could expect from me, and here's what I expect from you. Right. And so you have those kind of conversations from a cultural level. And then when the situations arise, then you deal with principle. Right. Not so much with emotion and anger.
Right. And one little tip on that, from a coaching standpoint, how many of you are very pragmatic people? Can I see your hands? How many of you would say, you've told people, I'm a truth teller? Has anybody said this to you? I'm going to be brutally honest with you. What does that mean? Buckle up. And so it's very important that you deliver truth with grace. It's very important that you consider the other person before you consider yourself. You know, you talked about the throw-up principle, right? Which is profound, right? Yeah. No one will ever forget that, right? You throw up, you feel better, everyone else feels sick. There's a lot of times people want to get something off their chest. So they get it off their chest, and now it's on everyone else's. Yeah. And so stylistically, I'd say be honest, but also be gracious if you intend to lead people. And my view with Buffini Company is I hold every staff person with an open hand. Not that I can do without you. I view the greatest assets of Buffini Company, they drive out of my parking lot every day. But I hold them all with an open hand and say, while you're here, I want you to be great. I want you to serve. I want you to grow. And if you leave here, I want you to leave here better than you came.